Hello everyone, Nox here, and today I want to bring you my concept for the 3.24 Archmage Hierophant. So again, concept, not necessarily a build guide, although I will showcase how I put the build together and how I leveled it through my testing. There has been a big shakeup to how the Archmage gem works, and we don't quite know how that's going to feel in the new patch because there's no way for us to test it. Telvanni did get confirmation from GGG on how the mana cost would work, so it should function how it is in POB right now, and Path of Building has been updated with the new gem, but that's the disclaimer out of the way. This is an untested build. The footage you're seeing in the background is me running through a test Hierophant. Again, I've only ascended twice here, and it has okay-ish damage. Its damage will be significantly higher come 3.24 if everything lines up the way we want it to in Path of Building. So jumping into the tree here, the change to Archmage has been fairly significant. What it used to say was gain 75% of skill's mana cost as additional lightning damage. The new Archmage gem coming in 3.24 is going to say supported skills gain added lightning damage equal to 19% of unreserved maximum mana. This goes up to 20% at level 21, so it's probably going to be worth volleying those very early on. And what that means is that we can now reduce the mana costs of our skills and not directly lose damage. It means we synergize very nicely with things like Sanctuary of Thought at the 50% less cost of skills, and all of these other additional reduced costs of skills here at Righteous Decree, etc. So this allows us to have a very comfy playstyle and not have to worry about dumping all of our mana on a regular basis in order to maximize our damage. So jumping into the skills here, we're doing 3.6 million with Ball Lightning of Orbiting on a 4-link, and part of that is due to pinpoint support. So pinpoint support says supported skills fire 3 additional projectiles, but they lose a projectile per intensity. And by default, you get a maximum of 3, so that is 60% more damage at 3 intensity. But on the tree, you can get spells which gain intensity have +1 to maximum intensity. Now with normal Ball Lightning, what this would mean is once you get to 4 intensity, your character is just standing there like an idiot, not throwing out Ball Lightnings because 4 minus 4 is 0. However, Ball Lightning of Orbiting has the line, modifiers to numbers of projectiles do not apply to this skill. And that means that we can abuse this to get 80% more damage from one support gem. Very, very strong. I believe that this should be our 4th link pretty much every single time for this skill if you're using the orbiting setup. Let's go over the rest of how we're getting this damage so we know that there's no shenanigans. Going into the configuration, we do have intensity at 4. We do have Sigil of Power, which is at 4 stages. It will be when you're standing there casting single target. We do use Wave of Conviction in an Arcanist brand setup. It also has conductivity, so they are exposed to lightning. We do have Arcane Surge because we get it from our Ascendancy. We've cast a spell recently. We've spent a bunch of mana recently because that's our mana cost per second. And I say that we have a very conservative 20% shock on a Guardian or Pinnacle boss, and that is because we're using the Lightning Mastery that says increases and reductions to maximum mana also apply to shock value at 30%. So with that all being said, that's not going to be mapping DPS, that's going to be bossing DPS. So we can get rid of Conductivity and Wave of Conviction, and we can get rid of Sigil of Power. I will say that we're probably going to have Arcane Cloak most of the time while we are mapping, but let's even take that off for just because, okay? This will give us 1 million mapping DPS on a 4-link. That is with level 20 gems, so bear that in mind. This is a level 90 tree. I think that that's very conservative for that amount. So checking all these boxes back up. The other thing that we can do is we can very easily, and I believe cheaply, get a second curse, which will lead us into the next portion of the build. So let's just check that real quick. 4.7 million on a 4-link. and that's their Windscream. I think Windscream is a very cheap and accessible pair of boots. Maybe not SSF friendly. This is a tier 3 unique, I believe, but Windscream historically has not been very expensive. And I think that it is a very efficient way for us to get a additional curse on the build. The only other unique that we are using is Mind Spiral. This is a tier 5 unique. This is going to be maximum 20 chaos at the beginning of the league. It's been 1C pretty much forever because of how common it is. However, you know, if it's very expensive the very first day where you're playing, either wait, farm up a couple chaos and buy it, or wait a couple days and it'll be 1C. This is not integral into the build. This is just a very strong helmet. There are rares that would likely be better also, but again, for a 1C unique, not bad to throw in. The rest of the gear is spell damage when we can get it, mana when we can get it, cast speed when we can get it, and life on everything else. I will say under the configuration, I do have plus 100 to all resistances. This is just to cap our res because I wasn't going to add individual resistances to each piece of gear. We all play a POE. We all know to cap res. It should be fine. So just going over it again, life and mana. Life and mana. We have some cast speed on our rings. Life and mana on our amulet. And it sort of only goes up from there. We have one jewel slot, and that's just for corrupted blood immunity. Again, just life and mana should be fine. However, looking at it, we can scale this up pretty comfortably. You know, on our 5th link, if we grab Lightning Pen, we're at 6 million DPS, or maybe we don't want Lightning Pen. Maybe we want Inspiration to make the mana cost more comfortable. 5.8 million, almost 5.9, very comfortable. I don't think Ball Lightning of Orbiting is the only choice. I do think it is a very solid choice, however, for bossing specifically. So if you're interested in getting your Void Stones yourself, I think this can comfortably, even on a 4 link, kill Maven. I mean, 4.7 million is a very comfortable amount of damage for the non-Uber versions of the bosses. And again, if you're jumping up to a 5 link there, it's like 6 million DPS. Can totally kill Maven. It can totally kill Uber Elder. You know, we aren't very tanky, and I would say that is a downside of the build, is that just by default here with this very basic gear, we don't have very many layers of defense. It's essentially just a pretty big effective hit pool. We have a decent chunk of life for this level, for this gear level. We have a decent chunk of mana, and we have a decent chunk of energy shield. I will say that there's probably easier ways to build more defenses into the build. I just didn't for this very basic league starter. So I'm going to be testing this out myself. I'm not sure if I'm going to be league starting it, but there you go. I just wanted to share it with you guys and show you guys how I sort of leveled it up. So that brings us into the tree. This is Acts 1 through 3. I do rush Ellie Overload, and I take these dual wield nodes here for faster leap slamming. It's one of the reasons why Templar is so strong in the speedrunning community and why it has such short times, because you have access to leap slam early and you have access to a lot of attack speed early. Moving on to Acts 4 through 8, we do grab Mind Over Matter finally, because we will have Arcane Blessing by then, and we will probably have Divine Guidance by level 51. Maybe it will be 55, but Mind Over Matter is good. We'll have a couple of mana nodes and it'll be comfortable. And then we do take the minion nodes here. So Spiritual Command says increases and reductions to minion attack speed also affect you, and Spiritual Aid says increases and reductions to minion damage also affect you. This is simply just to get a very efficient wheel of damage, and the attack speed specifically is so we can leap slam faster. If you're not a super tryhard, you don't have to take these. Just don't take those at all, and take the cast speed and the lightning damage over here, or come down to Divine Judgment down here early. So that is pretty much the tree. I will have this linked in the description below. And I think that pretty much covers the build. So I encourage you to give this a try. Again, this template as it stands right now should work fine for pretty much for any of these skills listed. These are all ones that I have tested. And I think that you should give them all a try. If you don't like Ball Lightning of Orbiting because it's a very Spectral Helix, hammered in style, play style, you're just standing there spinning balls around you, then, Try out regular ball lightning, try out crackling lance, try out arc. Those are all solid choices for this sort of archetype. And yeah, give it a try. Again, try at your own risk. This is a, this is a provisional league starter at best, but I think that the numbers are making sense and they seem like that they'll be very, very strong going into the new league. So hope you guys have fun at league start. I will be streaming. Check out my stream if you guys are interested. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.